That day, Monica had an ultrasound. She didn't know it yet, but she was in for some shocking news. "Congratulations, you're having triplets, Miss Morgan," the gynecologist announced in a cheerful tone. At first, the woman thought that she must have misheard the man, or that it was all in her head. But when Monica looked into the eyes of the medical worker, she realized that everything he just said was the purest truth. "What do you mean triplets? How is that even possible? What did I do to deserve this? Some people can't get pregnant for years, and I get 3 babies at once?" Monica exclaimed with tears in her eyes. The doctor frowned, clearly annoyed, and said, "Well, human nature is an unpredictable thing. Personally, I've never had a case like this in my practice before." His words were unlikely to help Monica in any way. All she could think about at that moment was how she would tell her grandfather this story. Therefore, having said a polite goodbye, the woman left the exam room, which suddenly felt like it had no air, and went out into the street. Outside, the wind cooled down Monica's flushed cheeks, but she was still unable to contain her emotions and burst into tears. The woman was hurt by the fact that she turned out to be such a fool and wished she had listened to her grandfather. The truth was that Monica's late mother had found herself in the exact same situation many years ago, and now Monica was repeating her fate. Back then, Rebecca Morgan moved to New York in search for a better life, as this city seemed like the center of the universe to her. It's hard to say what exactly happened in the big city, but when Monica's mother came back to her hometown in northern Ohio, she was already pregnant. Looking at Rebecca, the locals chuckled and whispered behind her back. Unfortunately, Monica's mother died during childbirth, leaving her newborn daughter in the care of her father. Left with the small child on his hands, Larry Morgan did everything he could to provide a decent life for his granddaughter. Meanwhile, the elderly man repeatedly reminded Monica that she shouldn't be so trusting and open up to people so easily. "Don't repeat your mother's mistakes, dear. Get a degree, find a good job, and only then start a family," Larry Morgan said instructively. But despite all the warnings, Monica fell into the same trap her mother did back in her time. Monica met Simon Brooks, who came from a wealthy family, during her junior year of college. The charismatic young man almost immediately won the heart of the gullible woman who dreamed of a prince on a white horse, like so many other women her age. Flowers, expensive gifts, and dinners at restaurants turned Monica's head, who grew up on novels about love and fidelity. Nevertheless, the modest young woman was in no hurry to cross the line, which would turn their romantic relationship into a sexual one. But when Simon first mentioned the wedding, Monica completely lost her head and even told her grandfather about it. "Please don't rush into anything, my dear. I don't trust these rich people. They all have only one thing on their minds. You should get your degree first and then think about marriage," said Larry Morgan. Unfortunately, Monica didn't listen to her grandfather, unaware that his words would turn out to be almost prophetic. The thing was, Simon broke up with Monica a week before she found out that she was pregnant. "I'm sorry, but we have to break up. I need to finish college first, and my mother, to be honest, she's against our wedding. But we could revisit this issue in 2 years or so," Simon announced without a shadow of remorse. That day, Monica tearfully apologized to her grandfather and admitted that he was right. And now she had to tell him the much more shocking news about her pregnancy, and that she was having triplets. "Well, dear, you do know how to surprise your old man, so why is it just 3 babies? Why not the whole basketball team?" the old man asked in a trembling voice. But seeing his granddaughter burst into bitter tears after his words, he realized that he made a mistake. "Stop it, dear. I raised you, and I'll help you raise your kids too. It's good that there will be 3 of them. They will never get bored, and you'll have more fun too." Mr. Morgan changed his anger to mercy. Now, a completely different life began for Monica. Morning sickness, dizziness, and weakness were Monica's faithful companions right up until the very birth. Nevertheless, the woman didn't quit college, but only transferred to part-time. 9 months flew by, bringing closer the day when Monica would become a mother. The birth of her 3 sons made her the happiest woman in the world. Cute little babies, Ethan, Kevin, and Josh, changed the life of Monica and her grandfather beyond recognition. Now, Larry Morgan often had to fill in for Monica and babysit the kids, while his granddaughter went to the supermarket to get groceries or baby formula. The lives of the young single mother and her grandfather had all kinds of things going on. Of course, without the support and help of a caring neighbor, Monica and Larry would have had a very hard time. The truth was that the old man often got very sick and couldn't always handle the growing kids. Charlotte Patterson lived alone, and it wasn't very hard for her to help her neighbors and support them during a difficult period in their lives. The childless woman liked to take care of the babies, who looked like blonde angels that descended from heaven. Charlotte's neighbor, Connor, often came to visit the old woman. He had recently returned to their town after several years of service in the Marine Corps. Despite his strong physique, the man was a very modest and vulnerable person at heart, who dreamed of finding his soulmate one day. Connor really liked spending time with the kids, who laughed contagiously and were crazy about his tricks and the cute faces he'd make. Do you see how great Connor is with the kids? Mark my words, he'll make a great father one day. And your Monica should take a closer look at my nephew, Charlotte told Larry. Larry only shrugged his shoulders in response, constantly saying that he didn't know what went on in his granddaughter's heart and that he didn't feel like meddling in her personal life. Of course, the elderly man noticed that Monica liked Connor, but he couldn't tell if there was hope for a relationship. Meanwhile, the young man could muster up his courage and overcome his natural shyness. But when Connor finally got a hold of himself and asked Monica to marry him, the young woman wasn't ready for it. "I'm sorry, Connor, but now is really not the right time to have this conversation. I'm planning to go to New York and find a better job. I hope that when I get back, your offer will still stand," Monica replied shyly. Thus, a couple of weeks after this memorable conversation, the woman decided to go on a trip to New York. Leaving her 3 children in the care of her grandfather and their neighbor, Monica set off towards her new life with tears in her eyes. Unfortunately, despite her degree in economics, the woman had to get a job as a cleaner at an office building. It was because there were no other jobs at the moment, but the head of the HR department promised to inform Monica if anything opened up. And why not? I'll work as a cleaner for the time being, and we'll see. It's still better from going to office and getting rejected everywhere, Monica thought while filling out the paperwork. But when the woman saw the director of the company, she felt dizzy. By an evil twist of fate, the company was run by none other than Simon Brooks, the man who broke up with her just a year and a half ago. At first, Monica was afraid that her ex-boyfriend would recognize her and have her fired. However, Simon preferred not to notice the cleaning staff altogether, so it was hard to say whether he recognized her or not. After breaking up with Monica, Simon married the daughter of an influential businessman who recommended him for the director position to his business partner. Of course, Monica didn't know any of this, and hoping to secure her job, chose to avoid coming across Simon by all means possible. Deep down, Monica was very hurt that having a degree in economics, she had to mop the floors, wipe the dust, and take out the garbage. "It's okay, I just have to get through this rough patch. There's always a rainbow after the rain," Monica reassured herself. One day, as she was wiping the floors in the hall, the young cleaning lady overheard a very strange conversation coming from the director's office. From that conversation, it followed that Simon Brooks conspired with his deputy to commit financial fraud, which would bankrupt the company and make them both very rich. Sure, if Monica didn't have her degree, she probably wouldn't have understood a single word of what they were saying. However, unlike many of her fellow students, the woman was a very diligent student and thus knew all the intricacies of the market economy. Realizing that Simon was up to no good, Monica reported his intention to the real owner of the company, who couldn't have even suspected what an awful mistake he made by hiring Simon. "Thank you for the information, Monica. It is highly appreciated. But tell me, how come you know so much about economics?" Glenn Rogers asked in surprise. That was clearly Monica's finest hour, which would soon change her life for the better. Upon learning that Monica had a degree in economics, Glenn Rogers raised his eyebrow in surprise and for some reason made a note in his notebook. The next day, some radical changes took place at the company. First of all, the concerned Simon Brooks and his accomplice, who, having decided to defraud the company, were dismissed in disgrace. Mr. Rogers personally made sure the fame of the two fraudsters spread far beyond his firm, which would significantly complicate their future employment. But the most important news was the appointment of Monica to the position of the head of the sales department. It was a very unexpected surprise to most of the employees, seeing the cleaning lady get promoted to such an important position. And only Glenn Rogers smiled meaningfully, knowing the true reason for this appointment. Now that Monica's life made a turn for the better, she made sure not to waste the opportunity and quickly proved herself at her new position. Having almost tripled the company's income, the woman immediately earned the respect of other employees and management. But it was a little later that Monica made the most important decision in her life, when she mustered up her courage and called Connor. "Is your offer still standing? I'm ready to marry you," the woman said, laughing merrily. Connor and Monica got married just a short month later, making a beautiful impression on all the guests. Looking tenderly at the newlyweds, holding the hands of little Ethan, Kevin, and Josh, Larry Morgan and his neighbor, Charlotte, couldn't hold back their tears. It seemed that the heavens themselves blessed this union, which connected two hearts in love, beating in unison.